Most of us are very familiar with what you need to do to get a qualification and what it stands for. However, a designation is slightly different, and it's useful to understand what these differences are. As a starting point, it's useful to think about what is meant by a professional designation. So if you think about people who you see as professional, you probably view them as people who embody trust, honesty, they work with integrity, and they're ethical. You'll also see that they generate a high quality of work, and they do that in a reliable fashion. Now, how do you determine for yourself that they are people who embody these qualities? Well, firstly, they probably have a proven track record of success over quite a long period. So it's something that's happened consistently over time. And you're talking therefore about consistent high performance. And lastly, you're probably also thinking about people who are up to date and who remain current. Think back over a situation where it's been important to you that something get done right. For example, you're going in for a medical procedure. You will probably want to find somebody who has performed that medical procedure a lot. You're probably not looking for somebody who has just finished medical school. You're probably looking for somebody, in fact, who has specialized in this procedure and who also seems to be up to date with the latest thinking about what is the best way to handle things. So that's what you're thinking about when you're thinking about being a professional. As you will have seen, professional behavior requires people to operate in an ethical way and to a high professional standard. And that is why every member of ASDSA commits to abiding by the ASDSA Code of Conduct. As you can see from the code, it requires people to operate professionally and to operate ethically. You're probably familiar as a skills development professional of the iceberg example, which essentially says that formal learning is a critical part of the learning experience, but it only contributes a small percentage to what is needed to make somebody competent. And that most of what makes people really good at their jobs is because of the working experience that they've had. That completely dovetails with what is expected of a professional, that most of their learning takes place on the job. They will have some formal qualification, but 70% of what it is that makes them good is because of what they've learned by doing the job. As skills development professionals, most of us are very familiar with the requirements of gaining a qualification. If you've ever done any design work for a qualification, you'll know that in designing learning material, you begin by identifying assessment instruments that help you test what is described in the qualification. And then you design learning material that helps people pass those assessments. So essentially what you're doing with a qualification is that you are testing a finite body of knowledge and application. And it is a finite body of knowledge and application that the learner has studied. So there is a strong focus on knowledge and application of learning. In addition, once you get your qualification, you have it for life. You don't need to do anything else. However, when you think about what is required of a professional, you will have noted that what makes them really good at that job is because of their working experience. So when you're awarding a designation, you need to be looking at that person's working experience and using that as evidence that they're actually competent against the broad competency descriptions that sit in each designation description. That essentially makes it then into an RPL or an RPE, or recognition of prior experience exercise, where each candidate will have vastly different working experience and will need guidance to help them find relevant examples of their competence in their working environment over the required number of years as set out in the designation description, and to provide evidence to back up whatever they're saying is an example of their competence, evidence that will be naturally occurring and often hard to find because it happened some while ago. For example, if you ran a leadership program that you want to use as evidence of your competence, if it took place 2 years ago, you may never have gathered the evidence that you need to put into your portfolio of evidence. So that's a challenge. In addition, this is about consistent good performance over a number of years. So it's not just, I got it right once, therefore I'm good. We're looking to see, can you consistently operate in this particular area at a high level over several years? And lastly, it is absolutely essential as a professional that you remain up to date. This is particularly true in the skills development area because we are in a process of fundamental change in terms of learning. So keeping up to date is a major responsibility of a skills development professional. So that then is the difference between the qualifications and the designations. Qualifications tend to be more restricted and you get them and have them for life. There's no need to do anything else. A designation is a much wider situation where you're looking for people who consistently work over a number of years and demonstrate their competence, and they have remained current and continue to remain current.